I went to India at the start of 2016 and we basically travelled through Mumbai and Pune, and we went to a village and in the city, and we learned about humanitarian engineering. Humanitarian engineering is basically applying engineering principles in terms of developing countries and improve people's lives and people's quality of life. I don't think you could help them in any way if you didn't understand their needs and how they work, because if you try and take something that we use in Australia and put it in India, it's not necessarily going to benefit them because we're completely different peoples, we do completely different things, completely different religions and applications. So I think if you don't understand where you're going and how they do things, you're not going to help them in any way. They were so welcoming, they were so friendly, and you had your translators to make sure you could speak to each other. There was never really any mishaps. And as for the students, everybody was just incredible because everybody was so happy and excited to be there that everyone was just friendly and helpful and wanted to have the best time they possibly could, so there was no worries, whatever. A lot of people were from Sydney or Melbourne, like big city universities, and we're from little CQ, so it was really interesting to listen to different perspectives. And we'd just finished our first year, whereas most people were in their final year. So it was really interesting to listen to all these people who, after they finished EWB trip, they were going to graduate and they were going to be real engineers, and we were still in second year. So you learnt a lot from each other, I think, from all the different levels of expertise and whatnot. We actually did get a lot of free time. I think pretty much every day you had free time, and a lot of it was spent, it really depended, a lot of it was spent like shopping and sightseeing, going off in your groups and trying to explore a little bit of whatever city you're in. And then towards the night there was a lot of like bonding activities where people would like play cards and play games or go try and find some nightlife in India, things like that. It definitely did help me with my confidence, firstly, majorly because I realised that I could keep up with all of these fourth years and fifth years who are about to graduate. Like, I didn't find that I was below them or anything. Like, it was really great in that way that I felt a lot more confident when I left. But in regards to the engineering and like a developing country, I don't think I really knew that humanitarian engineering really existed. I don't think I really knew the magnitude of what other countries and other organisations can do for a different country, for somewhere like India. And it really opened my eyes to how important these kinds of organisations can be. And I also had never really considered working in another country with another culture, even though that's really been one of my goals. I never really thought about the challenges you could face. So it really did teach me a lot about how you need to approach working in a different country and with different cultures, and how there's boundaries and there's different ways you're going to have to speak to them and things like that to communicate, I guess. And it really just made me excited to want to do those things. In the village, we were obviously split up into our 3 different design groups, and we designed our prototypes that we thought were going to help these families and we thought might be able to help them. And when we presented them, our family loved our idea, and they just kept playing with it and asking us questions, and they were telling us that they're going to go back and they're going to make it themselves and they're going to try and implement it. And that was an incredible feeling. So I feel like if they did find it effective and they did follow through with that, then I guess you could say that we did help them. So my specific group's idea was a pest control kind of method, and basically it was like a mutated scarecrow. So it was made out of bamboo and steel and things that they'd have lying around in their village, and it used motion, sound and light to try and scare away mainly birds and like your small pests like rabbits and things like that, because we interviewed one of our village men, and he was the main farmer of our family, and he was telling us that all these ways they have to do it. They have to go out into the fields and throw rocks like 4 times a day, and they have to just shout and things like that, and you could hear them all throughout the day. And so we tried to implement all the things that they would do so that they only really have to check on them maybe once a day or anything. And when we showed it to him, he thought that we'd kind of implemented things in a good way, which was really nice. When we were in India, my team, Team Monkey, had a group chat, and we still have that. We've kept that going now that we're back in Australia, and we talk about it through it every now and then just to keep chat like keep track of everyone and see how everyone's going, which is really cool. And there are a few people in other states that if you were going there, you would catch up with them. There's no way I would go to Sydney or Melbourne or Perth and not see the people I met there. So yeah, definitely. I would definitely recommend it. Definitely 100% do it. And I think it really doesn't matter. I think it depends on you as a person, like when you're ready to do it and when you can fit it in and when you think you're going to benefit from it, because I don't think I got anything less just because I was at the start of my degree. I think it taught me a lot that I will be able to carry throughout the rest of my degree. But I think that if you went at the end, I think you would have had more to take to it and more that you could have helped other people. So I don't think that there was a good time to go. I think it was when it was good for you. But I would definitely recommend for every single person to go. But there was one day, I think it was our last day in the village, that we'd made a habit of going up to the temple at the top of the hill right near our houses to have our debrief, to talk to everyone and make sure everyone was okay and like processing everything fine. And on our last day we went up to this temple and we were all just sitting around on blankets outside the temple. There was a wedding at a nearby village and you could hear like the Hindi music playing all throughout the mountains. And our team leaders, they asked us to write, I'm already getting, they asked us to write about our experience and how we felt before and how we felt now and what we learnt and all those kind of emotional things, and like to read it out at the end. And we were sitting on a mountain in the middle of India in the countryside listening to Hindi wedding music outside a temple like writing about how this entire thing had changed our lives. And then we all sat around in a circle and we read it to each other, and there was about maybe 15 of us. Everybody cried. Like the 25-year-old men were crying. Like everybody was just like trying to say how this had moved us and what you'd learned and how much had changed, and not one person could say that it hadn't completely altered their entire life. And it was so scenic and oh my god.